Sprague takes the draw. The puck sits idly, eventually comes near side. And just like that, LIU is going to capture the 2020 New England Women's Hockey Alliance Championship.
Here we are with the MVP of the LIU Sharks women's hockey team, Kenzie Harmison. Kenzie, first of all, let me just say congratulations on being named the MVP and winning the NEWHA women's hockey team championship.
Thank you so much. It was like one of the most exciting experiences I've ever had, so I was glad to be a part of it.
So first up, what made you take up the sport of hockey? And more importantly, what made you play goalie?
Honestly, it's such a funny thing to answer because I don't know what went through my 5-year-old brain at that point. But my favorite player from our local NHL team was a goalie, and I was like, I want to be just like him. And I was actually doing dance at the time. So my sister and I both switched over to hockey, and I was like, I really want to play goalie. So that's kind of how it went. My parents weren't too happy because goalie's the most expensive position, but they let me go for it, and I'm glad they did. The biggest memory from my first year is probably there was one team specifically, and I still know the two girls to this day. They were really insane for little 6-year-olds, and we lost anywhere from 16 to 25 to nothing every time we played them. And just the fact that I kept going back after that, it just kind of proves to me how much it must have meant even when I was 6, to let in 25 goals and not care. It's kind of a funny thing. And I'm from a really small town, so our team just took who we had to take, and we just went for it all the time, and it just kind of made me who I am now.
What did you think of the game when you first started?
It being really little, it's kind of a chase the puck around the ice kind of thing. No, it's really exciting to be a part of a team. The team atmosphere is kind of what makes you want to be a part of it. It almost takes over everything else. You just automatically, you have, depending on the size of your team, you have 15 to 20 automatic friends. It's just such a cool experience, and obviously the sport kind of came naturally to me, and it just kind of flowed from there.
How has the lifestyle been different for you coming from a small city outside of Ontario to, New York City is just train right away as you're in Long Island now. And just how has that been, that transition?
The traffic. But yeah, no, the traffic is really funny. I can look outside my window right now and there might not be a car pass for a couple hours. But no, it's completely different for me. It's something that I know I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be in the city. That's kind of what I've always thought of in the future. But the change for me, because population of my town is 8,000-9,000, which is quite small in comparison. So it was definitely a big change, but it was one that I looked forward to and really embraced when I got there, because I'm like, this is amazing.
When did your interest in film start to come along?
I'd say my deeper interest probably started, say, when I was in grade 10. So I made a video. I started taking media arts class, which is a mix, a range from Photoshop, everything. And I made a video and I submitted it for a national contest in Canada, and I won. It was through the Sportsnet, I think it was. And you got to go see whatever NHL team you wanted to play. So we went to LA, and all paid for through the trip. And while we were there, we did the Warner Brothers studio tour. And I was just like, wow, this is totally something I can see myself doing in the future. And it just kind of solidified how much I wanted to be in that industry when I was older. Yeah, and I'm one of the only athletes in the film program. So I kind of have two separate friend groups going on. So I'm getting to experience a lot of different things with people with a lot of different interests. So whenever I'm in classes, it's just me. There's no hockey. It doesn't exist anymore. And I get to really immerse myself in what I want to do. And then I go to hockey and it's a whole separate experience again. So it's actually really nice to be able to have this balance, because it's like I'm leading two lives kind of. So it's really fun, and again, like the city is just, I love it.
Yeah, how did it feel in the beginning of the season? Saying like this is real now.
Yeah, it's funny because like you commit, you join this team, and they're there, but they're in your phone basically for a few months before you get there, and it was so funny to meet everyone in person. And then we had a couple weeks, and then we finally went on the ice together, and everyone's just kind of staring at each other, and we're like, oh my god, that's what you look like in hockey equipment. Like, it's a really funny experience, and it's going to be the same this year. We have, like, I don't even know, 9 or 10 recruits coming in, and it's just a really cool experience to see everyone for the first time. And it's like, this is who I'm going to be spending 50-60% of my time with for the next 6 months. So it's really cool, and it's a really unique feeling to have. So goalies are very independent people, so there was hard times and there was really good times all at once. And there was a few times it was our second Wisconsin game that we played at the Coliseum, which was an amazing experience. And there was a couple saves that I made in that game, and I said to myself, like, wow, like I just did that. Like, I kept my save percentage above 900 against Wisconsin. I was like, I can't believe I just did that. And it's not that I ever doubted myself, but it's just that feeling of knowing that you did it. And just kind of from there, I was like, I know I have the ability. And it just kind of took off for the rest of the season, because I was I was confident in my abilities that if I played my game, I'd be able to help our team.
When did you know that you were going to be the starter in the playoffs, and how did it make you feel when you got that approval?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't really find out the official, like, starting for the playoffs until maybe a couple of days before. So again, being like three freshman goalies, we all had to come in and kind of compete for that spot. And all three of us worked hard all season, and we all did what we could. And I got the last two regular season games, and I was like, those games felt really good. It was a good road trip for our team. It was kind of a one last check to see how we were all doing. And when I got the message that I got the first start in our quarterfinal game, I was like, it just kind of all paid off. Like, it feels so good to know that all your hard work comes together, and that your coaches have faith in you, and that you're going to be able to help your team.
And now give me the mindset of you had the first game at home, and just how was it, going into your first playoff game as a team, and for you especially, because you were the last line of defense, and you're playing, these are now the best teams in your conference. How did it feel to play that first game?
I know, like, there was so much excitement about it. Like, again, it was the first ever playoff game for the team. So there was so much excitement. And, in my head, there's always a little bit of nervousness, again, being the last line of defense. You always put a little bit of blame on yourself no matter what happens. And you take responsibility for what goes in and that kind of stuff. And I just said to myself again, like, I know what I'm capable of doing. I just have to go out and do it. And hopefully we all can come together and make this another historic game.
And then you guys won your first game. You had your first big shutout, and then you guys traveled to St. Anselm, and you had that it was a real test against Sacred Heart, and they were the #1 team. So it was a lot of pressure going into you guys as the underdog. How did that feel to get that shutout against the #1 team and dethrone them, really?
No, it was a really amazing feeling. Like, we beat them in our very first game against them back in like October maybe, or November, and we were coming into this game, and I was like, I there were times during the season when we played against them that I was like, they were really close games, and I'm like, I got to bear down, like, we're going to do this time, like, this is our chance to do it. And again, getting the shutout, just, it always makes everything better. So
And now we've spoken about your two playoff games before, the title game. Now take me through the championship game. What was it like for you coming off a 2-game shutout and not giving up a goal, and probably having one of your best collegiate performance of the year in that championship game?
Yeah, so the night before that game, we all sat together watching this other semifinal game that, again, was the NCAA longest women's game in history. So we all sat there and we were just kind of embracing this whole thing that, like, we're the team waiting for our opponent. And it was just such a cool feeling. I think that's when it all started, as everyone realized, like, we're in the finals. And then again, just going through game day, they changed the start time of that game on us. So we went through that, and, it was a lot of things that kind of just kept us on our toes. Like, we couldn't just roll into it thinking it was going to be easy. And I just focused again, like I had in the last few games, and you just kind of keep going. You get into a bit of a groove, and everything just comes so naturally, and it feels really good.
The clock hits 0. Take me through that feeling of once it was over.
I stood there and I stared at all the players skating towards me, and I was like, I'm going to be in the bottom of a dog pile. And that's the first thing going through my head. But then I'm like, and I was like, I don't care. Like, we just won. I got another shutout, and it's just so cool. And you could just see the looks on everyone's faces, like, coming towards me. Like, everyone was just so happy. Like, no matter what their role was with the team throughout the year, everyone was so glad to see us come together like that and have some of our best games coming forward into that. And there was just so many smiles that I don't think I'd really seen all year, like every single person. And it was just such a great feeling. So.
And so after the game was over, you're all excited and everything. And then how did it feel to be named the MVP of the playoffs?
It's just, I think, as I've said it before, it's just the kind of icing on the cake. It's, the whole team worked together to get to that point. But at the same time, it's the cherry on top for me. It just kind of solidified to me how well I did during the season. And again, I proved to myself that I belong there, and it just made everything kind of come together.
And finally, where do you see yourself going as a student and as a player? Because now, you're almost done with freshman year and you're going into sophomore year. It's probably going to be a little bit harder. And, now you and the team have an expectation put on you guys. So how does that feel?
I know that the girls that are all coming back and the new ones that are joining us, like, we all know we have a standard now, whereas last year we didn't. Specifically, like, we all as a team knew where we wanted to go, but no one in the general population really knew what we were going to be capable of. And I think we've all seen what we're capable of, and we have to set our goals even higher. And I know we'll be able to achieve them. And we achieved our biggest goal this year, was to win the championship, and we did that. And again, like, as a student, I am just going to, again, keep working hard on my classes, and hopefully all of it just keeps going as smoothly as it has, because it's all been such an amazing experience so far. And